Hello and welcome to another figure reveal video from the 3D Printing Doctor Who project. This is another re-release of an older figure, in this case number 15, the Hand of Omega, as seen in the 7th Doctor episode Remembrance of the Daleks. I originally built this one back in 2019 as one of a series of special light-up figures that incorporated small, off-the-shelf, LEGO-compatible LED bricks. And I haven't updated the template too much from the original design of this version. The exterior is pretty much the same, except that I've changed the hinges a bit to make it a little bit more compatible with resin printers, and slightly smoothed out some of the rougher edges on the lid. The main difference this time around is that I've swapped out the old LED brick design for a new and improved version that uses LED fairy lights instead. These fairy lights are much better for this larger size figure because they only cost a couple of bucks, they're way brighter, they're much easier to get a hold of, and I can conceal them inside the figure with a hidden button or switch, which makes them look a lot more professional. So here we go. Here is the finished Hand of Omega. Get this a little bit more in the light so you can see it. And if we open it up, very cool. And of course it comes with this little clear display stand so you can make it float at Dalek or human height. Now let me just, I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit of how this is constructed. The first thing you have to do is, if you're going to use the LED element, is you want to make sure that you are using these LED fairy lights, but it's the type that has the button. There are a couple different types. You can get ones that have a little switch, and that will work as well, but if you do that, you basically have to remove this fog layer every time before you can turn it on and off. Because with the button, there's just a little hole here at the base, which you can just click. Sorry, you have to hold down to turn it off. And there we go. So I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to really quickly pry this off. Here, as you can see, we've just got the LEDs. There's a little hole where it slots into there in the base. And I've got the sides here lined with tin foil. Actually, if you want a slightly cleaner light barrier, you can just try using the regular old aluminum tape you can find at pretty much any hardware store. For the hinges here, we use 1.5mm brass rods. If you are resin printing, it's very important that you clean out any excess resin from the hinge holes before you cure it. If you accidentally end up forgetting, or there's something in there that you thought you got out but you didn't, you may need to buy one of those 12-inch, and it's a 2mm or 1/16 inch wide, extra long flexible drill bits, which I'll put up here on the screen, and you can use that to drill out the holes. And once you have the rod in place, you just cap the little end here with a little bit of UV craft resin, crazy glue, or even some paint will do. You do have a couple different options for the fog layer. You have a thick version and a thin version. This is the thin version you can see here, and the thin version can be printed out of white or clear. The thicker version, it's better if you print that out of something that's clear. Yeah, whether that's either PETG or clear SLA resin. But the thin version can be printed out of white or neutral filament or resin. Just make sure that if you are printing it out of filament, you're printing it at 100% fill. Otherwise, you will get the crosshatch pattern in the middle when it gets lit up. For painting, I recommend using an airbrush if you have one, as it'll preserve the maximum amount of fine surface detail. Even if you don't have an airbrush, you might want to consider using airbrush paint, like this flat black, as a base, because the thinner mixture will go on a lot smoother and not fill in quite as many of the cracks. So this is a pretty easy figure to paint. Again, it's mainly just black and metallic copper. I started with a layer of flat black backer and then covered that with a mixture of metallic copper, dark brown, rust and a little bit more of the black backer to darken it up. I airbrushed this on, trying to match the original prop as much as possible, and then went back over it at least one last time with another light pass of black backer to blend in some of the edges and darken a few of the areas in the casket that were supposed to be a bit darker. The hardest part of painting this was just trying to find a decent source image for the prop itself to use as a guide. Most of what we see during the episode itself is really bad, shoddily layered CSO, which makes everything just kind of look a little bit washed out and either too dark or too light. But there are a few scenes where the characters are interacting with the physical prop itself, which do show just enough of it that you can get a pretty good idea of what the top, front, back, and left side look like. Unfortunately, the right side of the casket isn't really shown in the episode, but we can infer what it looks like from the rest of the prop. So that's the Hand of Omega in a nutshell, but I've got one last surprise up my sleeve, and that's that the new 2021 version of the figure also comes with a brand new Omega casket headstone, which I don't happen to have a printed copy of at the moment, but you can see the CAD design here, and here are some photos of what the finished figure looks like. You can find the bonus accessory included with the rest of the STL files in the Google Drive link available on 3dprintingdoctorwho.com website. That's all for now, but please hit like and subscribe as I plan to show off a number of other new and updated figures in the coming weeks. In the meantime, if you want to see what I'm working on now, please check out the project's Facebook group or Instagram account for the latest updates and sneak peeks of what figures you can expect to see materializing in the near future.
Davros, the Hand of Omega is not to be trifled with.
I think I am quite capable of handling the technology.
I sincerely doubt that.